Barry, Foxrock has been ticking over nicely all season, just gradually warming up for Cheltenham. Yeah. Terry Biddicombe, National Hunt Chase is his target, and he looks like a horse who's going to love the stamina test.
Yeah, he does. He beat Size and Gold in Naas, and I think everyone said he beat him because he outstayed him. But if you go back and look how well he was going 6 furlongs out, he was going better than Size and Gold 6 furlongs out. So he's not just an out-and-out stayer. He's not a slow horse. He's a very clever jumper.
Safe, isn't he? I mean, for me, he's not flamboyant,
no,
but
he's
safe.
He gets his front end up very quickly. Touch wood, he's hopefully a horse that isn't going to get a fall for himself. But we're sitting here looking over Foxrock, looking over Leopardstown Racecourse, and I spotted the name was available there a couple of years ago and decided I'd reserve it for a good one. And I think we have a star. He's a hugely exciting horse. He's only had a handful of hurler runs last year. He's just 6 from 5 last year, and probably a year younger than most novice chasers. But he's won 2 Grade 2s. He was 3rd in a very good Grade 1 here at Christmas. Plenty of experience, and for me, he's my nap of the meeting.
Barry, Golan Tiller was beaten just the other day on the comeback. Some were disappointed, but not you.
No, I mean, he hadn't run for a year. He was definitely going to come on in terms of fitness, but also in terms of the ground. The ground at Naas was very heavy down the back. This horse has a really light, kind of flat horse's action, and loves decent ground. Robbie said when he got into the straight, he picked up, looked like he was cruising there, 2 furlongs to go, and just blew up. So we took him to work here at Leopardstown at the Trials Day last year, and I think some people were disappointed. I think he finished out the back about 10 lengths behind Blackmail.
I remember I was there. Yeah. I think I slated him. He just looked as though he was doing nothing.
The horse alongside him was Ted Veal. So the 2 horses out the back that day came out and were 1st and 3rd at Cheltenham. So, you know, Tony is a guy that's just going to peak the horse for the day. You know, we're happy with him. He's going to travel over, and I think you'll see a completely different horse over there. He's a 6-year-old, we know he has handled the track and he has a bomb-proof temperament. So we're expecting a huge run from him.
Stanley Bells around a 12-to-1 shot at the moment for the Glenfarclas. Should we be lumping on?
I'd probably wait to see if he gets in. He's on 130. I think we need 5 or 6 to come out, so there's only 16 is the safety limit in that. If he gets in, I think he's a massive chance. He had a very good return in a handicap hurl in Fairyhouse there 2 weeks ago. He finished 3rd in a very hot contest to a horse that we think a lot of. I think Enda would have been happy if he'd finished 5th or 6th, so it was a huge run. He was a classy horse, only just touched off by Lord Windermere here in a beginner's chase, so he's going to get in bottom weight. And Enda is very excited about his jumping at Banks. Last year he ran a couple of Banks races in Punchestown, and I think at Ruby's Double both times around he passed 4 or 5 horses in the air. He's an exceptional jumper at Banks. So if he gets in, you know, and the 12-to-1 or 10-to-1 is still available, I'd be snapping it up. I think he's a great chance.
Inish Mead has been developing nicely throughout the season, but he's in a few races at Cheltenham. What's sort of the favourite target, would you think?
Well, the Pretemps, I think the further he goes, the better. I think 3 miles is the key to him. Usually horses that are good on the flat over 2 miles want a lot further, and I think that, you know, he's not a natural hurler, but he's developed a technique. We've done a lot of schooling with him, and he's been pretty good the last couple of days. So I think over 3 miles the hurls come up a little less quick, and that suits him to get into a rhythm. Again, he's rated 132. Hopefully he'll get into the Pretemps. That's our preference, and I think if he does, I think one of the Racing Post gurus came up and reckoned he was one of the best handicapped horses there. He's a rating of 106 on the flat, and I think you normally add 40, so he's on 132. So he looks pretty well in. You can imagine him, you know, at the bottom of the hill, maybe being 9th or 10th, and coming with the storming run up the hill, hopefully.
You've also got Patrick Street running, better known as Strawed Porrig to Irish people. In a couple of races as well, what's the favoured option there?
Yeah, well, he's definitely going to get in because I think he's a rating 139. We're looking at probably the Burn Plate on, I think it's the second day of the 2.5 mile race. He won a 2 mile chase in Fairyhouse, and he's not really a 2 miler, but he's just an exceptional jumper. He was getting a length and a half at every jump, and able to get a breather, and had the class to win a 2 mile race. So, but I think 2.5 miles around Cheltenham with the hill there, probably still well enough handicap. So, he's a good each way chance if in whatever race he turns up in.
Double Irish didn't have any luck last time, but has good form with Champagne James, which is form you know all about. Yeah. Where would he go?
He got a fall in Clonmel. It turned out the ground was bottomless down there. He was too keen, and the trip was too far. So it was the only race we could really run him in, conditions race before Cheltenham. So I think we'll wait for Fairyhouse and Punchestown with him. We'll probably drop him back a trip.
Mount Benbulben's a big price for the Ryanair. If he goes, he would be a horse, though, who'd have probably the ability to win a Ryanair if he got it all together on the day.
Yeah, well, he's not going for the Ryanair. We've decided to do a big bucks, and we've supplemented him for the World Hurl.
Right.
So, I mean, really, there's nothing for him between now and Punchestown.
But does that cost you, Barry, to supplement for that?
13.5 grand. I think there's
a big move.
Well, we did it before with the Tullow Tank in the Royal Bond, and it paid off. And I think there's decent prize money down to 4th or 5th. So, if you take out any power and big bucks, you'd be hopeful that he'd be fairly competitive with the rest of them. I think it's worth it's worth a punt. It's definitely worth a try to see how he goes. He's a huge engine. I mean, he's just throwing away races over fences. He still ran a good race the last day in the Bobby Joe. He gave £7 to the winner, but made 2 or 3 fairly shuddering mistakes. And so I'd like to see what happens. We'll drop him back and try him in the World Hurl and see how he goes. I think
he's a horse with lots of ability, isn't he?
Loads of ability. He. Like when he gets it all together, you see what he was capable of doing in the Grade 1 novice in Punchestown last year. Like, he destroyed a top-class field there. But he just seems to, I don't know whether it's losing concentration or what, but it's just very frustrating.
Barry, we talked earlier on in the interview about stuff of dreams. Our Conor, if he was to win a champion hurdle, on a personal level, how big would that be for you?
It would obviously be enormous to win the 2 big championship races, the Cheltenham or the Gold Cup and the Champion Hurl, and they're fiercely contested races, and to even have a fancied runner in either of those races is an achievement in itself. So at this stage we're just really looking forward to having a horse that's going to be very competitive there, and we saw what he could do in Cheltenham last year. He destroyed a top-class Triumph field, and his campaign has been laid out by a master trainer whose prowess at peaking horses for the big day is nearly second to none. He's done it twice with Hardy Eustace, and I know he's very, very confident, very sweet on the horse.
And it does seem very much that with every run this season it's given you more hope, i.e. when he first appeared, you wouldn't have had much hope, but then last time against Hurricane Fly, magnificent jump at the last. He was bang there. He put Hurricane Fly under a bit of pressure.
He did. Just to go back, when he first appeared, I think we were lucky to have a horse at all coming out of the race. We ran him in a flat race, flat handicap. And I think when Desi mentioned to Richard Hughes that he was going to run him a flat handicap, he threw his eyes up to heaven. He said, "That's a very rough race, So I'm not sure we'll be doing that as a prep run again." He ended up standing in his box for 3 weeks afterwards, and so it's a little bit of a setback, but everything since then has gone great, and as you say, he's stepped up each time he's met Hurricane Fly. He's probably a length and a half to find. Hurricane would be the higher rated horse on the flat, so you'd expect a speed track like Leopardstown would play to his strengths. What Our Conor wants is a decent test. He's not slow, but a true run race, and you know, we know he handles Cheltenham, and it brings out the best in him. So it's probably the race of the meeting. I think it's the race all the racing enthusiasts are looking forward to, and you know, it'll be a bit nerve-wracking in the build-up, just to make sure that he gets there, and you know, he gets there in one piece and everything is good on the day. And I think if it is, he's going to run a hell of a race.
People have always said that Hurricane Fly is better at Leopardstown than Cheltenham, even though he's won 2 champion hurdles, i.e. if the champion hurdle was at Leopardstown, he'd be near on unbeatable. But at Cheltenham he is beatable, and you could argue a theory maybe Hurricane Fly is £5 less good if Our Conor was £5 better at Cheltenham than at Leopardstown. Then it brings them very close together, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I'd say Hurricane Fly is probably as good at Cheltenham as he is here. He's probably... What's happened in the last couple of years, the competition hasn't been as good here. You know, he's been beating 1,000 Stars, and there hasn't been an Our Conor, or there hasn't been a jet ski in the last couple of seasons. So, you know, and when he goes to Cheltenham there, he's had to take on all the top UK horses as well. So I would say he probably runs to a similar level, but, you know, our horse, we know, loves Cheltenham. You know, one of the reasons I bought him was I followed his career last year, and every time he ran and stepped up in grade, he got better. And it's a rare horse that does that, that wins easier every time you step him up in grade. And I think his biggest improvement was from the grade 1 here against Diacali to Cheltenham last year. And the vibes I'm getting from the trainer is that he seems to be improving again, and you know, we'll see on the 11th, but you know, we couldn't be happier with him at the moment.
I remember when Danny became your stable jockey, we used to get a lot of emails and say, oh, Brian Cooper should definitely stick with Our Conor. They made a tremendous pack together, and Brian was pretty vocal about how great he thought Our Conor was. There was quite a lot of pressure on Danny with this horse, wasn't there? I mean, obviously he had the new job, but he was taking over from a man effectively who looked invincible on Our Conor.
Yeah, well, he has been very good on him, but I mean, Our Conor is a very straightforward horse. He jumps, travels, touch wood, he hasn't made a mistake yet, and I think Danny has rode him very well. He kept McCoy in a pocket here the last day, kept him stitched up, and I thought he...
Do you like that kind of thing?
Well...
You think that's good race riding?
It was good race riding,
yeah.
You know. I mean, you know, he wasn't going to let an opponent out who had a chance of winning, and I think the next day he gave him a perfect ride, sat in behind, delivered him at the last, pinged the last, and just was a length and a half behind. But as I say, I think there are reasons to believe we can hopefully bridge that gap in Cheltenham.
So you really think this could do it?
Absolutely.
You're not worried he's just a year too young?
No. I think if you look at the form book and look at the improvement that he made going to Cheltenham last year, and look at the quality of the race last year, I know it's very difficult for 4-year-olds stepping up to 5-year-olds. Not many of them have done it, but the time of the race last year, I think somebody did a split screen on the County and the Triumph, and they timed Ted Veal jumping the last and Our Conor the second last, and Our Conor jumping the second last. And I think Our Conor was passing the line when Ted Veal was only jumping the last hurl. So he's an exceptional horse, and I think we haven't seen the best from him yet this year. We will when he goes to Cheltenham.